Welcome to FinTech Fridays, where in 30 seconds we'll discuss the top 3 headlines from the FinTech space, followed by the next 2 minutes where we would deep dive into those headlines. And if you stick around towards the end, I have a bonus news as well. Starting with Paytm, which has signed JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs for its upcoming IPO and looks to sell $1.6 billion of new stock offerings. Next up, we have FamPay, which has raised $38 million in a Series A funding. And last is Tata with their new banking solution, following closely on the heels of RBI's announcement for formalizing the guidelines of the fintech and neobanks in the country. Alright, with the headlines out of the way, now let's take a look at the first news item, which is about Paytm and their proposed $1.6 billion of new offerings, which will make it the biggest public listing on Dalal Street. But most commonly asked question is, Paytm is a loss-making entity. When will it turn profitable? And more importantly, how can a loss-making entity enlist in the Indian stock markets? Okay, so some quick numbers before we get into it. As of 2019-2020 financial year, the net losses of Paytm stood at around 2,942 crores on a revenue of 3,187 crores, which was 11% drop over the revenues from the last financial year. And the company also managed to cut their losses down by about 42% thanks to trimming their expenses and cash burns by 22%. So, is there a route to profitability? Well, not from their payment business as of yet, but yes from their non-payment wing, which includes the whole gamut of financial products from credit, insurance to wealth. In fact, experts believe that these services are set to grow 87% annually, helping the company to reach a 1 billion revenue mark by 2023. Coming to how are they planning to enlist being a loss-making entity? Well, most probably they would be going through the qualified institutional buyers route. Now, what does that mean? Typically, when a company lists, 50% of the shares are allocated to QIBs or qualified institutional buyers, 15% to HNIs, and the rest 35% to retail investors. But for loss-making entities like Paytm, the splits is slightly different, with 75% being allocated to QIBs and only 10% for retailers. Alright, next up is the news of FamPay raising their Series A funding of 38 million, which is said to be the largest amongst Indian fintechs. Now, FamPay is a fintech solution for teens, which aims to bring financial literacy to the youth along with providing a gamut of financial services to them, as most teens in the country do not have a bank account. Also, it's a great way for parents to keep track of where their wards are spending their pocket money. But the unique proposition that FamPay offers is the numberless card product. This could stand to solve a great issue because India has one of the largest adolescent population. About 40% of the population are in their teens and preteens, and catching them early will mean that down the line, FamPay could be the go-to product for a lot more things financially. The Series A funding saw participation from Elevation Capital, General Catalysts, Green Oak, as well as existing investors such as Y Combinator and Sequoia. The startup has around 2 million registered users and is looking to deploy the capital to expand that user base as well as their team. Alright, now to our last headline, and this one is about the Salt to Information Tech conglomerate and their plans for neobanking. Now, Tata Digital plans to add neobanking solution to their super app agenda. They're also looking to acquire a neobank to further this. They propose to offer the whole gamut of financial products from credit cards, insurance, and mutual funds. This rides on the heels of RBI's recent announcements and their plans to formally set up a committee to set up the guidelines for fintechs to operate in the country. Currently, fintechs in India act as digital intermediaries for traditional financial institutions, often partnering with banks and NBFCs to bring their products to the digital citizens. But now RBI is said to be empowering these fintechs to do a lot more, and they're even looking towards a self-regulatory model for the same. India has a plethora of fintech players and neobank players like Razorpay, PayU, Neo, and even e-com players like Amazon and Flipkart entering into the fray. But what differentiates Tata from all of them is that Tata already has an NBFC license, and the Tata Group also has an asset management company and insurance company, which they can bring together under one umbrella in their neobanking product. Alright, now for the bonus news, which is that a recent report announced that India had processed close to $25 billion worth of digital transactions, followed by China, which stood at 15 billion digital transactions, and America, as opposed to all of that, only processed a meager 1.2 billion transactions. Pat on the back for all us fintech enthusiasts in the country. And if you like this, then do considering subscribing, and until then, see you next week.